A 7-year-old girl vanished from a crowded theme park, and no one believed her mother when she said Emma never walked out. The ride operator, Vince Hardy, left that night, and behind his smile hid something darker than anyone imagined. But 2 decades later, one forgotten cassette tape brought Emma's voice back from the depths and cracked the silence wide open. Just wait until you hear how this horrifying mystery unraveled, and why, after all these years, justice finally clawed its way to the surface. Emma tugged her mother's arm, pointing at the giant purple dragon head above the ride entrance. "The Lost Caverns! That one, Mom, please." Her mother laughed, breathless from the heat, and said, "Okay, one last ride, then snacks." Emma darted ahead, her mini ears bouncing, her hand sticky with sweat and cotton candy. The line snaked through fake stone arches into a cool, dark tunnel. Inside, everything felt different. Too quiet, too still. "Just you and her?" asked the teenage attendant at the turnstile. "Just us," said Emma's mom. The carts arrived, empty and creaking. Emma picked the front row. Her mom climbed in beside her. As the ride lurched forward, artificial fog curled around them, the dragon's roar echoing down the cavern. Emma squealed, clapping her hands. Then darkness swallowed them whole. 3 minutes in, the cart jolted to a halt. Lights flickered. A crackle sounded from the intercom. "Apologies, minor delay. Please remain seated." A long pause. Then the ride resumed. 6 minutes later, they emerged back into daylight. Emma's seat was empty. At first, her mom screamed her name. Then she climbed out and ran down the exit ramp. Park security didn't believe her. "She must have wandered off," they said. "Kids do that." They locked the exits, called her name on the PA, searched bathrooms, gift shops, even the trash bins. But the cavern ride was never shut down. Not fully, not officially. That night, Vince Hardy tossed his name tag into the dumpster and walked off the employee lot whistling. "Can't do it anymore," he told his roommate, a fry cook. "Too many brats. One of them bit me today." "What again?" "Yeah, some little girl." No one asked questions. Not about the 6-minute outage, not about the stairs behind the ride's control booth. They'd been built during construction but were supposed to be sealed. In 2018, Matthew Niles was buried under a mountain of old tapes. He hated his job. He hated the dust, the hiss of worn-out cassettes, the decades of dead air. Most files were labeled by date and ride code, but this one, marked 9B070696AUX, had no log, just static, until 34 minutes in, a voice, faint, cracking. "Mom, Mom, he's taking me down the stairs." Matthew froze. He replayed it again, and again. Each time her voice cut deeper. "He's taking me down the stairs." The tremor, the breath, the sudden silence. He matched the timestamp, 4:37:12 p.m., to the incident report. Unscheduled pause, caverns ride, 6 minutes, operator, V. Hardy. Matthew's fingers trembled as he clicked send. He wrote, "Urgent, possible evidence in missing child case." By morning, his access was revoked. A sign on the archive room read, "Temporarily closed for maintenance." He tried again, HR, legal, operations. No reply. Then his boss called him in. "Matthew," she said, "some things are better left buried. Do you want to lose your job over a glitchy tape from the 90s? It wasn't a glitch. That was a child." His badge was deactivated the next day. He took a USB drive home, sat in his apartment listening to the clip over and over. He found Emma's case online. San Dimas, 1996, Whirlaway Park, age 7, still missing. He found her mother on Facebook. Her profile banner was a photo of Emma, cropped from a birthday party, balloons in the background, missing teeth in her smile. He messaged her, "I think I found your daughter's voice." She didn't respond. He sent the file anyway. 4 hours later, his phone rang. A woman's voice choked with sobs. "That's her. That's my baby." Then silence. Matthew stared at his screen, heart pounding. In that moment, nothing else existed. Not the park, not the threat, just a voice echoing from beneath the tracks. "Mom, He's taking me down the stairs. And the question that wouldn't let go. Who else knew that voice was down there? The footage hit the 7 o'clock news like a slap. Grainy aerials of Whirlaway Park, yellow tape across the cavern ride, sirens blaring behind reporters' anxious faces. Local anchors repeated the phrase like a mantra. New evidence found. Missing girl connected. Dark discovery beneath Ride 9B. Online, the clip of Emma's whispered voice racked up 3 million views in 36 hours. And somewhere in Riverside, Vince Hardy watched it all from the cracked screen of a communal TV in the halfway house lounge. "Isn't that where you used to work?" asked another resident, nudging his shoulder. Vince didn't answer. Just stood, walked out the back door, and lit a cigarette with trembling hands. By noon the next day, he was in custody. 6 years, said the detective, slamming a folder on the table. And you never once mentioned that stairwell. That was a long time ago, Vince said, eyes down. You remember your locker combo from 96, but not the kid who cried for her mom? Vince looked up. You have no idea how many kids cried. Yeah? The detective leaned in. And how many of them ended up under plywood with their shoes lined up like goddamn dolls? Vince's smirk cracked, but he stayed silent. Across town, Niles was staring at his screen again. The maintenance server had more files. One labeled 9B MISC, dated July 6, 1996, 5:12 p.m. It shouldn't have existed. He clicked it. Security footage. Not the ride itself. Too dark. This was the control room. Vince sat at the console, chewing gum. Then he leaned over, pressed a switch. The panel lit up. A metal hatch opened behind him. A girl entered frame, confused, barefoot. Emma, Niles whispered. The footage glitched. Then Vince blocked the camera. 30 seconds of static. Then nothing. He called the detective immediately. You need to see this now. 3 hours later, 4 officers stood at the edge of the sealed chamber. One pulled the door with a crowbar. The hinges shrieked. The smell hit like a wave. Stale air, mold, rot. They descended the stairwell in silence. The chamber was crude. Old insulation, mildew-stained walls, abandoned props, a rusted cot, a child's drawing tacked to the wall, stick figures under a sun. Back corner, said one officer. Behind the plywood partition, a pile of shoes, children's sizes, 3 pairs, a pink sandal, size 12, ER in faded Sharpie. The room went still. I want a forensics team in here now, barked the lead, and lock this whole wing down. Outside, Emma's mother waited in a parked sedan. She gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles whitened. Niles walked up to her window. His face was pale. They found something. Not her, but... He didn't finish. He didn't need to. She whispered, I want to see. No, he said. You don't. She turned to him, eyes burning. She's been under there for 22 years. I've waited long enough. Inside, cameras flashed, evidence bags filled. A faded drawing of a unicorn. A hairbrush. Scraps of fabric. DNA teams worked in shifts. The storm chamber was no longer forgotten. It was a crime scene. At the halfway house, Vince Hardy sat in silence. Why now? Asked the resident again. This time, Vince answered. Because someone finally listened. Then he stood, walked to the bathroom, and locked the door behind him. And the detectives? They weren't done. Because the shoe count didn't match. 3 pairs. But only 1 girl missing. So who were the other 2? The door to Vince Hardy's cell slammed shut at 10:06 p.m. He was alone. No cameras, no supervision, just a bed, a sink, and a roll of toilet paper. By 5:42 a.m., he was dead. Hung from the upper bunk with a twisted bedsheet. The guards said he didn't struggle. The coroner said it took under 90 seconds. The mugshot ran across every screen in America. Vince's smirk stared down a nation that wanted closure, but Emma's mother wasn't satisfied. He was the coward, she said on live TV, not the end. Behind the headlines, detectives worked overtime. They cataloged every item from Vince's mother's attic, school IDs, matchbooks, scraps of candy wrappers, receipts from theme parks that no longer existed. Then came the notebook. The cover was black vinyl, worn soft by time. Inside, the handwriting was tight, methodical. First names, numbers, behaviors, then dates. Next to Emma's, July 6th, caverns. Smelled like shampoo. Asked about her dog. On the next page, noise complaint. Had to end it. Jesus, muttered the lead investigator. This isn't a journal. It's a ledger. Each entry chilled the room. Kayla, stubborn, fought. Nathan, quiet, followed easily. Brooke, asked for her brother. And beneath them, symbols, stars, circles, X's. What do they mean? Asked the DA. Status, said the detective, like progress marks, maybe whether they left alive. But 3 names had a double X, including Emma's. The DA built a case for post-mortem conviction. Closure for the families, he said. But no one celebrated, because the chamber held 3 pairs of shoes, and only 1 girl was officially missing. Then Frank Dillon called. He was 63 now, living alone in a trailer 2 counties east. He'd worked the ride systems from 91 to 96, resigned suddenly after Emma's disappearance, cited stress. No one asked why, until now. Frank sat in his faded recliner, hands shaking around a chipped coffee mug. He told me it was for panic attacks, he said. Said the stairwell was quiet. Said he just needed space. And you believed him? Asked the detective. I didn't think he'd hurt anyone. He always smiled. Seemed harmless. Weird, yeah. But aren't we all? Did you see anything? Anyone? Frank closed his eyes, swallowed hard. I saw a little girl once, brown ponytail, barefoot, holding a plush toy. The detective leaned forward. Did she speak? No, but she looked at me, like she was trying to ask something. Then he came behind her, said, Game's not over yet. I figured they were family. I didn't know. I swear I didn't. You unlocked the stairwell. Yes. You gave him access. I did, and I hate myself for it every day. They let him walk. No charges filed, just guilt. Frank later mailed in his old employee badge with a note. I failed her. In the command center, Niles stared at a wall of evidence. Photos, maps, names, pins and strings like a movie cliché. But the pattern was real. 2 other ride outages matched notebook entries, one in 1994, one in 1992, both near the same stairwell, both with reports of lost children that resolved within hours, except the kids were never seen again, and the last page of Vince's notebook had 1 more entry, a name scratched out. Beneath it, switch made. Nobody noticed. That's when the detective looked up. Wait, what do you mean, switch? Niles turned pale. Are we sure Emma ever left that chamber? The question hung heavy in the air, because if Vince had made a switch, then someone else went home in her place. The morning was quiet when the bulldozers rolled in. No music, no crowds, just the roar of engines tearing into Ride 9B. Whirlaway Park called it a safety measure. Locals called it what it was, a cover-up. The ride was gutted in 3 days, but no one missed it. The parents didn't want a memorial. They wanted answers, closure. Bones weren't enough. The lawsuits dragged on. Class actions, negligence claims, $7.2 million. Settled. But for Emma's mother, the money was meaningless. I want to bury her, she said. Not a shoe, not a toothbrush. Her. The park offered condolences, sent flowers, then disappeared behind silence and legal walls, until the tape surfaced. It was a fluke. Contractors demolishing the old security office found an archive cabinet. Inside, weathered folders, rusted keys, and 1 cassette wedged behind a drawer. Labeled in faded ink, WX 72496AUX. They handed it to site management, who handed it to legal, who filed it in evidence. But someone made a copy. That's how Matthew Niles got it. He listened at 2:14 a.m., white noise, mechanical whirs. Then at 19 minutes, 42 seconds, a child's voice, quiet, afraid. Are you going to hurt me like you did the other girl? Then a pause. Then a man's voice. "Only if you make noise." Niles stopped breathing. It wasn't Vince Hardy. He played it again, slowed the file, enhanced the EQ. The voice was deeper, older, calculated, confident. He ran it against the employee database from 1996, then against the staff photo in the break room that summer. Only one man fit. Gerald Price, ride technician, 10-year veteran, still on payroll until 2017, retired quietly, still lived 3 miles from the park. Niles called the lead investigator. "I found another one. Another tape? Another voice. You sure? Play it for yourself." An hour later, the FBI took over. They raided Gerald Price's house at dawn. His living room was spotless, shelves of model trains, golf trophies. A worn, lazy boy, no signs of children, no photos, no tapes. They found him in the garage, sanding down a cabinet. "Mr. Price," said the agent, "we need you to come with us." "For what?" "A conversation." In the interview room, Gerald was calm. "You remember Emma Rodriguez?" the agent asked. "I heard about that. Tragic." "Were you working July 6th, 1996? "I worked every summer. I was reliable." "We have a recording," the agent said. "A child asking if you'd hurt her, a voice answering." "Your voice?" Gerald raised an eyebrow. "People sound alike." "It's your name on the shift log, your initials on the stairwell maintenance report. I've filled those out hundreds of times. What's this really about? You were the technician on Witchlight Express the day after Emma vanished. You logged a 6-minute outage. Ride maintenance. No, you recorded it. We heard you." Gerald folded his arms. "You can't prove a voice on tape is me." "We don't need to," said the agent. "We've got a subpoena for your property." The forensics team swept his house. Nothing. Then they scanned the crawl space under his deck. That's where they found it. A small safe. Inside, 3 Polaroids. Blurry, dim, taken underground. Children's eyes lit by camera flash. A girl with tape over her mouth. A boy staring straight at the lens. Each photo marked with a date. Only one matched Emma's disappearance. The other 2 were never reported missing. At least, not in that town. When asked about the pictures, Gerald smiled. "I didn't take those. You kept them. Curious habit, I guess. Why?" He leaned forward. "You ever wonder how many parks have chambers like that?" The room fell silent. He added, "I wasn't the only one." Then he leaned back, crossed his arms, and waited. The agents stared at each other. Because if Gerald was telling the truth, then Whirlaway Park wasn't the story. It was the beginning. So now we ask you, what else was buried beneath the laughter?